I wanted to make a quick reefing video because I wanted to help people learn to reef better for two reasons. One, if you put a good reef in, then it's easier to control the boat. And two, when you put a bad reef in, you do damage to the sails. And so I wanted to show what a good reef looks like and how to do it so that we treat the equipment better and you have a better day sailing. The other thing that's helpful for getting a good reef is making sure that the reef outhaul is tied aft of the actual outhaul, and that way when you pull tension on the outhaul, it makes sure that the point that the reef is tied to is as far back on the boom as it's going to be, so it helps pull the sail down and back at the same time. On some boats, if you tie this forward of this with a loose-footed thing, it could end up way up here and you'll never get enough tension. So you want to make sure it's behind this so that you can get good tension on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hoist the main. Just like when you're raising your sail without a reef, you want to tension the sail with the luff first, then the foot, then the leech. So halyard Cunningham, then an outhaul, then the boom vang, in that order, either when you're reefing or when you're just hoisting the sail. So I'm going to hoist the sail. To get good tension on the luff of the sail, I'm going to hoist the sail so that the reefing tack is about 6 inches too high and put tension on it. And then I'll put tension on the foot and then tie the whole reef up. So the other thing you might want to notice while I'm hoisting is that I'm hoisting with one hand and I'm feeding the sail up slightly forward and straight down from the mast, because then it goes up without as much trouble. Alright, so I'm stopping with the reefing tack about 6 inches above the boom, and I'm going to cleat that off. If that's a little too high, I'll readjust that once I figure that out. But at this point, I want to put a lot of tension here because I want the tension to be from this reinforced area to the reinforced area at the head of the sail. The way this Cunningham was rigged was good because not only does it pull down, it also pulls slightly forward, so it keeps this close to the mast. And you can see I'm putting as much tension as I can possibly put on this, because ultimately I want this to be here. So this is more than I can do, so I'm going to ease the halyard just an inch or so, not much, just a little bit. Then go back to putting a lot of tension on here, and that's good. That's the way I like it. So now we go to the reef outhaul. And we get to a point where to get the tension I need, it hurts my hand. So I want to grab something to use as a handle. I wrap the reef line around it. Oh, come on. And then I have something so that the reef line is not digging into my hand when I'm trying to pull on it. And I can get more tension. And you see there's a tension line here between the tack and the clew, and that's what I'm looking for. Is I'm looking to get a good solid tension line so that the load of the sail is on both the reinforced patches of the sail, not here where it's coming out of the mast. So something else is you get an extra little piece of line, and this is called an earring, and we'll put an earring in because it helps keep this down against the boom, which is helpful for sail shape and for boat control. And basically we just pass it through a couple times so that we can get good tension on it. And you'll note that everything I'm doing, I'm pulling really hard tension on. To help you with that, instead of tying a standard reef knot, if on this first part you put an extra wrap on, then when you pull, just the friction of the extra wrap helps keep the tension on the knot. And then you just tie the second half like you do any old reef knot, and it stays nice and tight. When you go to tie these reef points in, notice how they're right against the boom. So when you tie this around the boom, they're not going to take any load. Rolling the sail up, again, as tight as I can roll this up. When I tie the reef lines, the reef points, I put them inside of the other lines on the boat. Come on. Again, nice and tight. Then we make a coil out of this, just because we don't want it tangling around things. I like to do a hanging coil, which means I make the tail extra long, do it from the top, and then you can tie it to something else, and it hangs out of the way. Then when you're done with all that, you put the vang on and you go sailing. Okay, so what you want to look for, see how the sail is smooth. We have nice sail shape. There's no tension wrinkles coming from there. There's not a tension wrinkle there. This is coming straight down and getting pulled forward, so that all of the load is going here where the reinforcing is, and all of the load is here where the reinforcing is, so that the sail is loaded up in a way that the sail is designed to be loaded, which is along the edge and on all of the reinforcing points. The tack kringle for the reef is basically where the tack kringle for the whole sail is, because that's where it's designed to be, to get good tension and good sail shape, and load where all the loading is supposed to be. When you're looking at your finished reef, if there's ripples or wrinkles in the sail, it typically means that there's not enough tension, and the place that people generally don't put enough tension is either the halyard or the Cunningham opposing each other. So what ends up happening is the reefing outhaul pulls the luff of the sail backwards away from the mast, creating a tension point where the sail comes out of the mast, and that's a place that the sails get easily damaged. Another common mistake is that people pull the halyard high enough, getting the reef tack kringle up above the boom, but then don't pull it down with the Cunningham or whatever, line you're going to use to pull the tack down. And when you pull the reefing outhaul on, it creates tension on the luff of the sail and pulls it out of the luff track of the mast, and has the potential to damage the sail there. It's important to remember when you're reefing, if you're going to err on the side of too much tension or not enough tension, you definitely want too much tension. It will surprisingly do less damage to the sails than having them basically cut as they come out of the luff track on the mast. Another problem is, even if you get enough tension on the halyard Cunningham and then don't pull the reefing outhaul tight enough, you end up trying to tie the reef points around the boom, and then they take load, and they're not really made to take that kind of load. And you also end up with a really round, full sail, which gives you lots of power, which is opposite to the idea of why you're reefing, and so it makes it harder to sail the boat. As a quick wrap-up, I wanted to say that the things I talk about are not peculiar to this boat or dinghies in particular. Everything is applicable to both keelboats and to dinghies, and I hope that the information here helps you have a better sailing day and helps you take care of the equipment here at CSC better. Thank you.